You are listening to Therapist Unplugged for straight talk on life, relationships, and mental health. I am your host, Laurie Poole, licensed professional counselor with the Montfort Group in North Dallas. Each episode will feature the unplugged views of guests and fellow therapists as we navigate hot topics, therapy trends, and the world around us. Welcome, everyone, to Therapist Unplugged. I am your host, Laurie Poole, licensed professional counselor in Dallas, Texas. And today's guest is one of my favorite people, Connie Cornwell, LPC supervisor and LMFT supervisor. Connie is a highly respected couples and family therapist and clinical supervisor at UT Southwestern Medical Center, where I did my training under Connie's supervision. With more than 3 decades of experience, she trains therapists, supervises clinicians, and works directly with couples and families to help them build stronger, healthier relationships. Welcome, Connie.
Yeah, thanks, Laurie. And thank you for the nice comments. I love my work, and so it's fun to reconnect with former people I've supervised. It really is. It's a joy.
Yes. Yes, I left the Family Study Center in 2015.
2015? Wow.
2015. So it's been
Wow.
11 years. It will be
Yep.
11 years this coming year. And you are always on my shoulder and in my head when I am doing couples work and things start to get escalated. And I'm going to think to myself, now, take a breath, divine detachment, rise above. You are with me all the time.
Well,
Oh.
my supervisors are on my shoulder and head too, so I'm just kind of passing it on.
That's right. Well, it's a huge legacy for which I am eternally grateful. And it's been a while for our listeners. Connie and I did an episode several years ago about relationships, and so I thought it would be fun to reconnect for today's episode to take a look at, hey, have there been changes? Because I feel like there have been trends and there has been a shift in what couples are looking for when they come into therapy. And I'm just curious for you, Connie, in all the cases and scenarios that you deal with, what do you think is the most common issue that brings people into therapy today?
I think the most common is pretty typical. It's
Mhm.
where they're in high conflict or they're feeling like something's gone awry in their relationship. Okay,
Mhm.
so that's been kind of consistent across the years. It's not until you start working the cases that you begin to appreciate the variety and the complexity of some of these cases.
Yes.
See, the one thing I can say is that the old traditional model of, this is kind of my parents' model too, I guess, husbands, wives, wives took care of home and husbands were kind of the breadwinner. Uh, that was okay for a while until women kind of woke up and said, no, we want something more.
Mhm.
And then we shifted into this trying to have dual careers and children. And that has been, I think that's still ongoing. I think that couples sometimes are still struggling with that. Some couples manage it very well. Those couples probably had good role models in their family of origins. But a
Mhm.
lot of couples don't, and they're still kind of struggling around. What does it mean, one, to be a couple? And what does it mean to be parents?
Mhm.
So I still see cases where they're focusing a lot of energy on the kids. People want their kids to be successful and,
Yes.
prosperous. And then the couple's relationship is in the back burner sometimes. And so sometimes that needs to be refocused and realigned, not just for the couple's sake, but for the children. Because the
Absolutely.
children need to see mom and dad connected and
They
bonded.
need they need to see them connected. They need to see them repair. They
Right.
need to see all of those dynamics. And one of the things that a phrase I use often in couples therapy, if what flows between the two of you is solid and healthy, the rest of it will follow.
Well, sure. That's kind of what we're looking at as couple and family therapists. Now, the world is changing. It's changing more rapidly than we could have imagined. And I think every institution on the planet is up for change and evolution. And I'm assuming that would include the institution of marriage. So
Yes.
maybe future marriages or even the ones today may have more flexibility in some way. And that flexibility can take many different forms. I mean, there's some relationships that are polyamorous, that's what they're
Mhm.
into when both agree to that. There's some couples discovering that their careers are so demanding, it requires them to have some separateness, physical separateness. So how
Mhm.
do they manage that? How do they stay connected? How do they, if they have children, how do they share the co-parenting burden,
Yes. Yes.
Um, there's couples that I think that are in who've been married for a very long time who want to renegotiate things, you know,
Yes.
and it could look like, well, we've been this way always, where you've always made decisions on where we go for vacation, and now it's my turn,
Yeah.
So they've been stuck in certain roles that now in midlife or in later life, they kind of want to shake that up and revise that.
That's right. Exactly. It seems to me, if I've noticed anything, it is, and even in my own personal life, as someone who has gone through some pretty major changes later in life, it's it seems to me that there is more of an approach to customize relationships because the traditional format based on economics and law just don't fit anymore. And we
Exactly.
have and we have the introduction of technology, so long distance relationships can become more manageable and in some cases desirable because of careers, because of individual interests, so that there is, I think you used the word flexibility. Pardon me. Seems to me there's more flexibility in understanding what a relationship is with the two individuals involved, as opposed to a larger social context for what marriage and commitment means.
Yeah, exactly.
And it may no longer be relevant for many people.
Well, it may not be. I do think, though, the driving need for each of us is having connection and
Yes,
having an
absolutely.
intimate connection. And I'm not talking about sexual necessarily. I'm talking about intimate connection, meaning I have someone I can turn to no matter what, and I can be vulnerable with that person. That person will always stand by me and accept me.
Yes.
See, I think that strong need is still there. Um,
That's
but I
part of the human condition, as you just
Yeah,
said.
exactly. And I think,
That's not gonna change.
yeah, and Sue Johnson pointed that out beautifully in her work and her years of research in doing emotionally focused couples therapy. She clearly defined that need, and
Mhm.
I think that's correct. That need doesn't go away. The difference is, how is that need getting met? What's the bounds of flexibility? How will they come together and do that?
Yes.
I'm thinking of a couple where they got married young, and let's say the one partner is wanting something different, something more, but doesn't know that the other partner will support them in that.
Right.
It's, in other words, the one partner saying, my vision of my life and how I want to live it is kind of I want it to be different, not kind of
Mhm.
like what we're doing. And therefore, do you feel that you can turn towards your partner and describe what you're wanting, trusting your partner will be there for you? At the same time, the other partner being able to say, well, this is my vision, which may be a little different to your vision. So, how do we
Mhm.
come together around those visions for our personal lives and build and trust and develop the stronger relationship? Or is this a signal that we go our separate ways?
That's a tough one.
Yeah, it is a very tough one. I think as a therapist, we have to create the safety so they can have those very honest conversations with each other.
Absolutely. Because in my
So,
experience too, when couples come in, it's not like someone teaches you how to be in a relationship. Most of us don't have terrific role models to follow. How do you have those kinds of difficult, hard
yeah,
conversations that require so much vulnerability and risk? The risk of
right.
rejection, the risk of not being understood or misunderstood, the risk of, things going south, And so I think your point about creating safety in therapy so that couples can have
Mhm.
some of those conversations and providing support,
Right.
to walk down that road is really important.
Yeah, but see, what I'm leading to, Laurie, this is where flexibility comes in.
Yes,
This is where the creation of the new form comes in. Do you see what I'm saying?
I
It's
do.
going to come out of a need that we need to see how we stay connected or what that's going to look like. It's kind of like, I think that's the point at which there's flexibility that's going to be
Mhm.
created.
Yes. Yeah.
And relationships, I've been doing couples work and family work for a long time. And the reason I'm doing it for a long time because they still fascinate me and they're
Yes.
all unique. They're not all the
That's right.
same. And one
No,
size therapy doesn't fit all
doesn't
either.
fit
So
all.
it keeps me in the game. And I'm thinking about a couple where we've had for a long time and EFT is where we're going because I teach interns about EFT because I think it's a good model that leads to second order change. So I think there are couples that are not ready for the second order change.
Ah.
So we go back and we
Hmm.
do things like Gottman because Gottman is homework driven,
Yes.
exercise driven, and that's what the couple could tolerate.
Okay.
Now, will that create the overall change and goal they want? Well, I think it's going to just do a first order change, which is kind of symptom removal we talk about.
Yes.
Will
Yep.
it get to that second order change? Well, maybe eventually they will. I don't know.
That's so interesting because maybe, and I'm just thinking out loud with you now, maybe an approach like Gottman, which is symptom removal, actually opens the door for a deeper, a deeper dive into emotions that drive the patterns and the emotions that get, that music that couples hear when they start dancing together. And so that's an interesting thought, that for those who
Oh,
really want that kind
yeah.
of experience, using it as a gateway for
Yeah.
something that could go deeper with time.
But the case I'm thinking about is that it could be that's as good as it gets.
Mm.
So the next intervention is to have better understanding of the partner by bringing in the partner's parents. You see, what
Oh,
we have to remember is that a lot of people are so boxed in by their how they were raised in their family of origins.
absolutely.
There are those people that can't quite break down the barrier. So we're thinking about maybe expanding things to look at how that fits together. We particularly see this in marriages where one partner may be very raised Western style and the other one is raised Eastern style, so to speak, and how the struggle is for the one partner who's come from a very traditional kind of family of origin where their expectations were high, loyalty is deep, and they have to kind of have to take a hard look at where they're coming from and how
Hmm.
much of that is impacting the current relationship, particularly if their partner's not from their same culture.
Yes.
And we see a lot of this, and I feel there's a real struggle, internal struggle, because it's like, well, this isn't how I was raised. And I was raised and told this is the way to do it, right?
Hmm.
And so, but here I am in this relationship. It's not working too well. And
Yeah.
so then they lack some flexibility. And I think that lack of flexibility is fear and loyalty issues to the family of origin.
Oh, that's interesting. Fear and lack of loyalty to the family of
Well, being
origin.
loyal to the family of origin. Yeah.
Yeah,
That can be heavy because, some cultures to honor your parents and even the grandparent generation is a good thing.
that's right.
But it becomes difficult when it doesn't match where you are and the relationship you're in now.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Yeah, that would create a lot of
Yeah.
internal
Yeah. So here again, it's kind of like
conflict.
maybe we have to do a little more family of origin work.
Yeah, I think that's really, really important because, in my experience, when when clients have the context of how family of origin influences what they're experiencing in a relationship, it's almost like oh, now I get it. This makes sense. Of
Yeah.
course, I would show up this way. Of
Yeah.
course, I would hate it when things get really loud. Or, I remember how my father would dismiss my mother when she would bring a concern and he would just turn his back and walk away. And, things like fear. And of course, we can't help but talk about some attachment
Yeah.
styles that get developed, that kind of where we have that
Yeah.
blueprint that gets laid down in those really, really early years in our
Yeah.
family.
So I'm in supervising people who are doing EFT. You know, more chances than not, we have to kind of let's slow down and let's get some family of origin work understood or completed for both of the partners. So that can aid you and understand the context in which they're trying to live in.
Yes. Understand the context in which they are trying to live.
hmm Because we can't assume
Exactly.
anything, you know that. It's just,
No, we
you
can't.
started, yeah. And then you're talking about attachment styles. I'm less concerned about what is the attachment style,
Right.
which
It's
which is
fluid, isn't it? It's so fluid.
it's so
It can be.
fluid. I mean,
Yeah,
and so I'm trying to help the interns understand. I got to get the attachment. Well, understand attachment styles. Absolutely, you got to. But that person may appear like they're anxious and avoidant, or they may appear fearful, and it changes over time.
that's right. That's right.
It's because it's dynamic, it's not static, and you can't, as soon as you label somebody in a certain way, it becomes
Yes.
static, and you have no possibility for movement because it's very fluid, and it's
Right.
very, very dynamic. Because I'll have interns say, "Well, I thought they were this way, but now they don't seem to be." And of course not,
No, that's right. It's so interesting. Um, and it
because it's
depends too.
process. It's
It
process.
it is absolutely, and I think that's a newer way of thinking about it as a therapist because we think about pursuit, withdraw.
Mhm.
The dances that show up in relationships, which I think is continues to be a very fun way to describe what
Right.
happens with a couple. That the problem is the way they're dancing together. It's not each other.
Right,
But this
right.
dance is so painful. But there's some good parts to it too. But
Yeah.
sometimes when you're stepping on one another's toes, it's really, really
Well,
painful. And
a pursuer becomes a reactive withdrawer, withdrawer becomes a reactive pursuer, and
of
that
course
that
they
can
do.
happen right in the room.
Yes. Oh my goodness. In a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. One of the things that Esther Perel has said that one of the biggest issues in couples work and probably within families too, but that the ability to repair is lacking, that couples are missing tools to repair when there's conflict, that it's not the conflict or the tension that's the issue. It's how do you repair? I'm wondering what your thoughts are about that.
Well, I agree with 100%. I mean, we see people sitting in front of us who are lacking repair skills,
Hmm.
you know, and that's why I think EFT has been so potent because it's actually helping people understand at a deep, vulnerable, primary emotional level what's driving the conflict.
Yeah,
And that understanding is a way towards repair. Because now I
yes,
understand why you're doing this because that's what you've been really feeling. I didn't know that.
yeah,
So repair work is kind of built into, I think, the EFT model.
yes, absolutely it
Um,
is.
I think that couples after a while become so set in their positions and maybe even defending their positions that they forget that the other has a position too, that there's different realities here.
Absolutely.
So maybe as you're asking this, I'm just kind of brainstorming. Maybe part of repairing is being able to have that ability to understand multiple realities.
That's right.
Because
Because
see, if
there
I'm,
are.
if I'm stuck in my reality, and my reality is, I'm angry with you, and I'm gonna every chance I'm gonna, make sure you know that, then you're not able to go outside that and think, well, I'm wondering what's really going on with the other. Could the other have a different reality? So I think
Yeah.
that ability um, is so clear to me, and I think I learned this as a little girl sitting at the dining room table with my parents.
Mm,
And my mom turning to my dad, and she was very upset about how someone had treated her. And my dad looking at my mom and said, yeah, but I wonder if what was going on with her was this, which helped explain the other's behavior. So I saw that. And I began to realize that we have to maintain in with ourselves, that we have a reality, but everybody else does too. And their realities are based on their lived experiences.
that's right. And multiple things can be true at the same time.
That's right. So I think one of the things that therapy does, it's giving voice to all the realities in the room.
Absolutely.
And people are
Absolutely.
are hearing it, and once they hear it, they can't quite be the same. They may, kind of appear like they're in the same rut, but they can't quite be the same because there's something new that's been presented. And see, Lori, if you look at it, the reason our world is so crazy right now is because we have leaders who cannot think about multiple realities.
That's right. There's only one
They only have
reality.
one,
They
which
only have
feeds
one.
which feeds their ego. And so it's
Yeah,
being able to become comfortable in appreciating others' lived experiences, right? And then it
exactly.
also becomes the ability to be, this is key, observer of the self.
Can you talk more about observer of the self? I love that.
Well, I'm sure you've experienced it. For me, it's when I have a thought or I'm about to react, and there's this voice inside kind of observing me, going, hmm, do you really want to do that? Or is that the only thought you can have? It's like you have an internal observer that is literally observing, I think, your ego self. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
And your ego is not a bad thing unless it rules you. And then if it's ruling you, then it's
Then it
not
can be
good.
a problem. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power Within, describes it so beautifully. And so I have, and hopefully it operates most of the time, although it doesn't every time, have an observer self, which is, I think, also needed because
Mhm.
you're stepping outside of what is here in the interaction and you're able to, again, take that bigger lens view. You can then think about what may be the other's lived experiences creating this.
Yes. And I think in the heat of the moment, it can be very tough in relationships to pause and to
Yeah,
have that self observation because the emotion can really drive the
right.
interaction. The
Yeah,
reaction to the emotion can
right,
drive
right.
the interaction. And then before you know it, we've gone to the moon and there's World War III. But
Well,
you're up.
yeah, and see, I think that's the beauty of the EFT couples work
Mhm.
because it is actually slowing things down so that that can get teased out.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Or any good emotional work.
Can you give listeners an example of what a good repair might be after an argument or after sort of disagreements that are, pretty intense
Well, okay, you're asking a question about repair.
about repair?
It's pretty. typical in the therapist office, but are you asking about repair otherwise?
I'm thinking, well, listen, it's a loaded question. I know it's probably not a great one. I'm just thinking in terms of practical takeaways for listeners, like what is an example of a good repair? What does that sound like?
Well,
Maybe it is. Go ahead. Go ahead.
there's layers to that. For your listeners, I think that when they find themselves in the conflict or in the withdrawal, okay, both of
Mhm.
those things can be not good for relationship. That when they find themselves in that, I think the first thing you have to do is push the pause button.
Mhm.
And then you have to think about, whoa, what's really driving this outburst or what's driving me withdrawing, if you can. And then you have to, I think, turn to the other and say, I got your rage, I got your anger. Help me understand your experience. Now, that can add to more reactivity because they're going to say, well, I'm angry because you.
Mhm.
Okay. And then if the other can listen to, I'm angry because you did this, blah, 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 which is how they usually end up. And if you can silently listen without being reactive, which is not easy, then are you able to turn back to the other and say, and are you willing to hear why I'm angry?
Mhm. Yeah.
And then the repair comes with understanding, but then the repair comes with a couple, and I think couples can do this, making the decision that the love and bond they have between them is more important than what the fight is.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's shown up beautifully in these past couple or this last year because we have couples who are on the divide, the political divide.
Yes.
And NPR has been interviewing this couple several times, staunch Republican, staunch Democrat. And they have met with the couple, and it's a beautiful, beautiful kind of interaction. And they've talked about, and they both said, well, I'm not going to change her mind. She's not changing my mind. But the thing we have in common is the love and the bond and how much we respect each other.
Beautiful.
And they said that's what keeps us connected as a couple. We know we have agreed to disagree, and that's okay because our love, our history, our bond is much stronger. Now, that couple found a way to stay connected during this. When there are other couples, it's really created severance in the relationship. So, again, maybe the key to repair is very simple, is choosing love.
The key to repair is choosing love. I think sometimes we forget how simple solutions can be.
Yeah,
And we
yeah.
make things so complicated on so many levels. But just what
Mhm.
you said, it's choosing love.
I mean, I'm all for repair, but even the word repair makes me feel kind of weighted down, like I'm going to
Mhm.
go out and fix the car.
Change the oil, do an engine check.
Or, oh, now that went wrong in the house. I'm going to have to get
Yeah,
that repaired. I mean, it's interesting as I get older, language is so powerful, and language defines us more than we realize. And
yeah.
sometimes the language we use puts us in a box.
That's
So
very true, Connie. That's
So
very true.
I just finished reading a book about what's it called? Justifying. It's about justice. It is written by a lady from Australia, and she said the powerful thing in the book. She says we have to take justice out of a noun and make it a verb
Mm,
and make it more relational. And I thought, how many words have been so, and they've been become such a noun, they're in concrete, you know?
yeah,
And how we need to take those words and make them verbs
yeah.
where there's a process, where there is in the process, there can be progress too. And we have fluidity. And when you take a noun, you change it to a verb, the thing I experience is freedom. Justice to justifying. Whoa, that frees me up.
I'm taking this all in.
play,
Wow.
play
I'm
with
taking
words.
play with words. I'm taking this all
And
in.
I have to give credit to Harry Galishan, who was a supervisor of mine, oh, eons ago. And he's no longer alive, but he said one thing, something that stuck to me. He said, as soon as you name it, then it becomes it.
Yeah.
And he was referring to back then, I'm not sure who coined it. Was it Reagan? War on drugs. And I remember him saying, now we're going to have war. And we did.
We did.
It was a messy, messy war on drugs. So he said in supervision, he said, as soon as you name a thing, it becomes the thing. We're going to do war on this and war on that. Well, that's what we get is war. If you
We get
change
war.
that to we are here for peace and we are doing the things that are creating peace, that shifts it entirely. So I
Does it
think,
ever?
you know, we need to think about the words we're using now.
Absolutely, we do. We do. Spelling is a spell, right? Like it's like the power of words. Exactly. Connie, I have a couple of questions to ask you before we close today. What do couples usually think their problem is when they come into therapy? And what do you often discover the real problem is?
Couples come in two ways. A lot of them come into high conflict that
Yeah.
takes time to de-escalate. And then there's some couples that come in very withdrawn. So, you know, basically I see my job and what I'm trying to train the interns to do is to create that safety.
Mhm.
So, and the rapport. So then we can help them, empower them to uncover what's there.
What's really
Usually,
there?
what's there for me over the years is some form of fear. We're very
Yes.
fearful. And
Very,
it's,
very
it's
fearful.
fear about I'm not good enough. It's I'm not smart enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not worthy. No one could love me. I mean, it's the fears that are wired in us unconsciously at
Yes.
times
Yep.
drives our life. And I remember in the Course in Miracles, this quote is so stuck in my mind. In the Course in Miracles, which was actually channeled through a psychologist at Harvard, uh, who, who made it
BTW.
anonymous. I'm going to make this anonymous. I don't want
Yeah.
anybody to
Yeah.
know. And the Course says there's only two things that exist in the universe, and that's love and fear. Fear
Mm.
is the illusion. And I think about that when I'm doing my life. I think about that when I'm working with people.
Yes. 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 Oh my goodness. This is really resonating. Love and fear. And fear is the illusion.
It
It's an
really is.
illusion.
And that comes from a very comes from a spiritual place, obviously. But I believe that we're all spiritual beings having a human experience. So
That's
for
right.
me, it that fits and it
Yeah.
resonates. And I think it drives some of my therapy because someone will say, well, how can you step into that? It's very scary. And I said, but I have to step into it because that part's not really real. What we have to do is to help people uncover who they are and, love, discover their own sense of love and connection because
Mm,
love and connection goes together. Even
that's right.
connection and loving self, you
Yes.
know.
One of the things that I've observed, Connie, the longer I am doing couples and even individual therapy, is that the relationship with self,
Uh-huh.
even in couples therapy, is so important. It's critical
Mhm.
because the relationship with yourself, emotional intimacy with yourself, the understanding, the observation of self. Am I going to say this? Am I going to say that? Wait a second. Let me just step back.
And mhm, mhm.
That is a critical piece of couples work And it is through the connection with your partner that you can evolve relationship with self, not only with your partner, but within.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's where all roads lead from
Right.
that
Yeah. And
inner
what
experience.
you're talking about is what Buber talked about eons ago, because he focused on the I thou. And it was all about this. The struggle with the self and the other, and if from a very high spiritual consciousness,
Mhm.
you believe we are definitely all one, there's no separateness.
That's right. Oh my God, Connie, you never fail to blow me away. I just got to share
Uh-oh.
that with my listeners. I'm having like an existential experience listening to you because so much of this resonates not only as a therapist, but where I'm at this stage of
Oh,
my life,
okay. Good.
and um, it's so interesting and very exciting. As an aside, although we're talking about relationships, I think this is also pertinent. The idea that in our third act, we arrive, that we maybe have the answers to things, that we know who we are, that we give fewer shits about things, that we have a greater capacity to say no. What I'm finding right now is that the continuum of development and
Yeah.
evolution and soul level introspection continues. And it's so exciting to know that we have this capacity for growth,
Mhm.
expansion, self reflection, risk taking. It's not about sitting on a porch in a rocking chair.
No.
It's really, asking some tough questions, which in relationship, I think what we see reflected in that is that there are relationships that drop off. There are marriages for whom the expiration date has been reached, and it is time to move on to something else that serves our needs, or we're less tolerant of being in relationships where needs aren't being served. And despite attempts for that, it's not working, and head and heart are no longer
Right.
aligned,
Well, let
and
me
it's,
let me share this with you. This is because I think this fits this podcast. I've been listening to Pam Gregory on YouTube. She is a British astrologer,
mhm,
and I love listening to her because I love her accent, but she also invites all
yeah,
kinds of guests in. And what's made clear to me, which I've known for many, many years, is that humans are moving into different levels of consciousness. We're in the third dimension, but the fourth dimension is there for us. But people she's interviewing are saying, don't stop there. There's a fifth and sixth and seventh dimension
yes,
that
yes,
you actually, in human form even, can accomplish. But you have to keep your intention clear. And I think that intention has to focus on not the negativity and the hubba hubba, which we all
right,
are in, but
yeah,
you have to keep focusing on that higher perspective, that spiritual perspective, which really is about focusing on love. Here again, choosing love,
choosing love,
because that's the vibration of those higher dimensions. And we're
yes,
we're move. I think we're actually moving through because more and more people are waking up to other kinds of experiences that are not just grounded in third dimension.
right, yeah,
And you may be having your own experiences with that. I certainly am feeling that, becoming more and more energized by that, if nothing
yes.
else.
Yes, no, exactly, exactly. Well, and what else matters? If there isn't love, what else matters?
Exactly.
What is something about relationships that people don't want to hear, but from experience is true?
I have to think about that one, Laurie. They don't want to hear, but I know that's true.
Yeah, what's something about relationships
I
that
think just
people
what we've been
don't want to
talking
hear?
about. See,
Yeah,
here's the issue. People in relationships get stuck. They get stuck in their positions of needing to be right,
yeah.
and you're wrong. And I think that they may not want to hear is that, oh, the other may be right too. Yeah,
What if you're both right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. or you're both wrong, and it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. But I think that is the old third dimension level of thinking.
Well, it lacks flexibility. There's
Yeah,
no
yeah,
flexibility in
yeah.
that.
And what's interesting right now is how where we are in the world, and I'm looking globally, how we've kind of gone back to clinging to that old model. The reason is because the new model's here, and there are people who want to cling to the old. And the more they cling to the old, the more it's validation for me that we're moving forward. The new model is broken through.
The new model is broken through, and maybe there's fear about what that new model
That's right.
is.
Because you know this as a therapist, people cling to even discomfort simply because it's familiar.
Familiar. Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
you can point, hey, there's something better, but how do I know that? At least, even though this is awful for me, at
Awful.
least I know it. And
Yeah.
so, and I think that's exactly where the planet's at, exactly right there.
Wow.
And everybody's at choice. You want to cling to this and stay stuck in this
Yeah.
because it's familiar and even though it's awful, or do you want to risk going into the unknown, trusting that you'll be fine?
Yes. Yes.
And,
Yes.
and see,
Yes.
I think maybe our clients are a microcosm of what exactly is going on at the global level.
Beautiful. Connie, that is a perfect place to close our conversation. Our clients are a microcosm of what's going on at the
Yeah.
global level.
Well, this has been so much fun, Laurie, and thank you for inviting me again.
Oh, thank
Um,
you for a mind-blowing conversation. Now I got to hang up and process all of that, said the Canadian. Did you hear the Canadian in me?
oh
Process.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Even after
yeah,
20 years, I can't bring myself to say y'all here in
yeah.
Texas. But
You guys is fine.
Connie,
That's what we say up north. Or I love your about. About how do you say
yeah,
about?
about out and
About
about, out and
out and
about.
about.
I think Minnesota is probably as close, and maybe the Upper Peninsula of Michigan are those are the two places where Canada's had maybe a little influence in the way in our pronunciation. But Connie, thank you very, very much for your time today.
You're
This
so
has just
welcome.
been fabulous. We've had some very provocative topics, and I know that it's been a provocative conversation. And I hope that our listeners' takeaway is that there's different ways of thinking about things, and that
Yeah,
flexibility and love are key. Thank you
yeah.
so much, Connie.
You're so welcome. Thank you. It was fun.
Okay, take care.
The Montfort Group aims to provide a serene, calming setting where you can feel challenged, supported, and motivated. Our skilled therapists bridge specialized backgrounds and varied philosophies together to create one unified strategy. Rather than steer you away from your own natural abilities, we help you maximize your unique strengths to uncover the boldest version of yourself. We do not view a broken history as the end of a story. We see it as an opportunity for a new beginning. To learn more about our practice and how we can help you, please visit us at themontfortgroup.com.